What's going on, everybody? This is Chris around the ATL, and this is Sunday Night Basketball. It is March, what's today's date? 16th, I guess. So just got back home. So Sunday Night Basketball, for those who've never watched it before, it's a segment that I do that I've been doing for a few years now, where I basically give you a rundown of my Sunday night playing basketball. I've been playing basketball every week with the same group of people for 30 plus years, really 40 years, I guess, but 30 plus years for sure. And 35 years to be exact. And what I do is I kind of give a breakdown of just the games, how many games were played, how many games I won and lost, and then some of the elements of the games that caused a win or a loss. And then some of those fundamentals, I attribute those to the Atlanta Hawks, depending on what's going on at the time. So tonight, my team went 3-1. We only played 4 games. So first of all, we were supposed to start at 6:30, but there was a team there doing some practice, so they didn't finish until like after 7, and then it was probably close to 7:30 before we got the first game going, because it took a while for teams to be picked and all that kind of stuff, and all that. So here's what we do on Sunday. We do play with the clock. We have a game clock, and we take score. We don't have a 24-second clock, okay? So that's one thing to keep in mind. We play full court. We play 2s and 1s. So 3s are 2s and 2s are 1s. We don't shoot free throws, okay? First game is to 16. If you end up being tied, when the clock strikes 0, you usually play to the next 3, or if you end up tied at the 16, well, basically, like if you are tied with game point, you got to win by 2, so it's 1 deuce. All games after the first game are up to 12, and then the last game could either be to 16 or 20. Tonight, unfortunately, it was 20, and I was really pushing it. I probably shouldn't even have played that last game, even started it. And I ended up having to come out injured because of it. But the team still won. So, let's see. So tonight, I hit some shots, some pretty decent shots inside. Didn't hit any jumpers tonight. I only took 2 jumpers, though. There's a reason for it. The last jumper I took, one of the 2 that I took, would have been a game winner. It went in the center there, popped back out though. There was some, and I swear the rim was messed up because it wasn't just me. There was shots that went in, swirled around, and then popped out, like point blank layups. A lot of people miss some point blank layups that they never miss. And again, I had some point blank. I'm right under the goal, and I'm like, I missed something. Had some great passes though, some great assists. So let's see, fundamentals. So we lost the first game. Now here's the deal: we actually technically had and sometimes whoever has down, they pick their team, right? We had a pretty good team that got picked. Don't get me wrong, we should have won first game. We ended up getting down by like 10 points, which when you're playing 2s and 1s is very difficult to get down by 10. Very difficult. We actually came all the way back, though. We came all the way back, and we lost by 1 point. Very disappointing. And when we sat down, it was like, man, I'd rather have gotten blown out to come all the way back just to lose. But we fought hard to come back. So what did we do first of all, what did we do to get down that many points? So first of all, you had some shots that went in that you just didn't see going in. There was one person who shot it from half court almost. That was 2 points right there. You had to just shrug those off. There was a couple of shots that, odd top shots or whatever that went in as well. But some of it was just, now let me say, I'll say this. For the most part, we did get back on defense. We didn't give up a lot of fast break points that I remember in that first game. So we didn't get down by that. It was just, they did get some offensive rebounds, okay, and put some putbacks that way. But a lot of it was just one-on-one. There was just stuff we got beat on, okay. Now, one of the things was switching. And one of the things I always talk about the Hawks, and I actually just did the review earlier, the Detroit game, we don't know how to switch as a team, really. We don't properly know how to do it. Dyson knows how to, but because other players around him don't, players plural, it's a lot of them, there's people that are out of position, like Zach. Zach a couple of times will just leave his man. Like even on double teams, like we don't even know how to properly double team people. But anyway, just talking about switching right now. So what we ended up having to do was instead of switching man, we just stayed on our man, which means we had to fight through the screen. You see what I'm saying? Because what was happening is off of the switch, there was some mismatches that were created because of it. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, one time I did actually play. Let's see who would he be like? We have a guard that's kind of like a small version of Shea. Gilgeous-Alexander, I would say. He can hit pretty much any mid-range. He can hit from outside, but he can really get to the hole. He can get any shot he wants, basically. So one time I got matched up with him off of a switch. But I was able to I actually didn't let him get by me. This time I actually defended him to where I actually knocked the ball out of his hands. Now, somebody would say that I fouled him, but I know I didn't foul him. The ball hit my arm and my hand, and he lost the ball. I didn't foul him at all. And I stayed with him, which is the first time in a while that I was able to do that. So I knew I was feeling pretty good in that first game. But because we had to expend so much energy to come back in that game, that first game really I probably shouldn't even have played after the second game I played. But I didn't want to not win a game that night. So game 2, we won that game. And we did it mostly ball movement, okay, cutting, give and goes. Okay, if you get me the ball, which I didn't get a lot in certain cases, but if you get it to me and you cut, I can get you a layup and or a wide open shot. And that's how we won that second game for the most part. Now I will say this. If somebody notices tendencies and stuff like that, and I always talk about tendencies, right? You have to adjust based off of that as well. I had a steal off of one of my passes because somebody anticipated me giving on the give and go to my guard who was coming into the lane. Now that I know that he does see that or pay attention to that, now I go to my second option, which is the guy sliding onto one of the threes, and or I just reset altogether. Okay, but at the end of the day, probably I won't do it that much because at the end of the day, he perfectly did what he did. That's not going to happen all the time. You know what I'm saying? But we won that second game pretty easy. We won the third game as well. That one was closer. We had to work a little bit on that one. So again, I would say staying with your man is important. Wherever your man goes, you got to go with him. You can't leave him open. At least you shouldn't. You got to try to beat people to their spot. Now, again, on the flip side, I will say this: entry passes is always one of my, pet peeves or whatever. Of course, but if I battle to get position, at least give me a chance to do something, because I got position for a reason now. Again, I'm not always getting position to score. I'm getting in position to help my team. You know what I'm saying? So it does get frustrating sometimes. Even the player that was playing against me, a couple of times where I had him beat, but I didn't get the ball. And he's just laughing over there because he's just like, I know Chris ain't getting the ball right then and there, But I'm still fight for the position, though, because people got to play me straight up at the end of the day. What else happened? So we won the third game. So that fourth and last game, again, I just knew I was pushing it at that point because I didn't play the week before, and I really hadn't been doing anything calisthenic related or anything other than walking up and down my stairs every day. But that's not the same thing as running full court. And I did have 2 bottles of Gatorade, but they were smaller bottles of Gatorade, and I think that had something to do with it. I think I was getting dehydrated. That first game really pushed. We had to do a lot to get back into that game. I ain't gonna lie. Um, oh, fast breaks. I almost forgot about fast breaks. So 2-on-1 or 3-on-1, you got to make the correct pass, because if you don't, you allow the other team to catch up and make a defensive play. For the most part, we scored on almost all of our fast breaks, and we created quite a few. That's how we got back in that first game. Fast breaks, cutting to the lane, some touch passes, 2 on whatever it was, and we were able to finish most of those. Um, Some shots we just missed. We just had some misses. Like I said, we had some wide open shots, created off of good passes or whatever, and the shots were just missed. Can't do nothing about those, really. Just keep shooting. But everybody chipped in all those wins, though. Like, all of our players did a really good job of chipping in, so that was cool. So basically, I think this is going to be a short one tonight. It's 11 minutes. Deciding when and when not to switch. It's just important. You got to figure that out quicker than not. Because again, if you trying to switch creates too many mismatches that the other team can take advantage of, you got to do a better job of staying with your man. And or just communicating. And I always talk about the Hawks. They don't ever communicate anything. They just point. And pointing is not defense. If you go and watch on IMTN Worldwide Radio on YouTube, you'll see the Pistons review. Hopefully you see it. I've just got home, so I don't know if it's still there or not. YouTube blocked my last video, so I redid the whole thing. But I talk about the non-communication, and pointing is not defense. You got to tell somebody where you're at or what you're about to do, so that way you know. So that way someone is just not in limbo and trying to guard 2 people all of a sudden because you left your man. Didn't tell nobody you were leaving your man. Just say switch. Hey, you got my man, I got yours. Something. Same thing with fast breaks. One thing with fast breaks, we always try to stop the ball. It's not always doable to stop the ball, though, depending on the player. But if you know you are down here and your man is out there, you got to tell, hey, get my man. I will get yours. Because if their man hadn't come up the court, that means I can get him. If my man done beat me down, somebody else has to switch off, so nobody's just wide open, right? So that's a big deal. Entry passes, I always will talk about that. Just saying. But again, sometimes we gotta play high post. Sometimes I can't get down low sometimes. So sometimes I'll come out to the free throw line area or whatnot to get a post pass. And then again, you just cut. I'm a great passer. I'm passing the ball. Everybody know I'm passing the ball. I'm still gonna get it around you though, because I got the height too. But I'm very good at passing. I can anticipate stuff, most of the time. Setting screens, even. Like, it's a good thing to set you some screens. And again, sometimes you're setting a screen to get somebody off of someone else. Sometimes you're setting a screen to set up a shot, right? Take advantage of it or not take advantage of it, but be decisive. Like I said, getting back on defense, fast breaks, did good on that. Um, you gotta keep now. Okay, so I will always say, if you're not hitting shots, don't keep taking shots. Help your team win. Do some other stuff. Group rebounding. There was a couple of times I was pinned underneath with like 3 or 4 people around me to an extent, because all the bodies were, you brought your man to me, or I got 2 people trying to block me out or whatever. I can't get the rebound in that case. I can try to tip it out to somebody, better be looking out for it, but sometimes I can't get it, okay? Because they're trying to stop me from doing that, So that's where group rebounding comes in at. I always say, try to make sure that your guy don't score. Again, that's my job. That's my job every night. I try to make sure whoever I'm assigned to, you can't score. If you score, it's because there was a switch somewhere, and I wasn't on you anymore to an extent, and or couldn't get back, Or, of course, the times where I did leave my man open or whatever. It did happen once tonight. Somebody hit a 2 on me. Remember, 3s are 2s, 2s are 1s. But yeah, I'm just glad we went 3-1 tonight. I wish I could have played that last game. I was going to try to gut it out, but I just knew how my leg was feeling at the time. I wouldn't have been no good. I definitely wouldn't have been able to jump, you know. So I wouldn't have been able to really do a whole heck of a lot without, risking injury. And I don't like doing that if I don't got to, especially because I knew I was about to walk up 3 flights of stairs tonight after I got home. And I still got another flight of stairs to get to my bedroom too. I wasn't trying to really hurt myself after that first shot of pain. It's like, no, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. So anyway, that's Sunday night basketball for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed. Of course, continue to watch for more on Around the ATL on the IMTM Worldwide Radio YouTube channel, as well as some new shows that are going to be coming up. The Women in Business show will be back soon, so check that out. Again, if you want, you can always, follow on the IMTN Worldwide Radio YouTube channel or the IMTN Worldwide Radio Instagram page. Wherever you're watching this at, just subscribe. Take a second, subscribe, and maybe share it with someone if you like what you hear about Atlanta and Georgia sports. Talk to y'all later. Peace.